Today we're going to talk about the number one things you don't want to do on YouTube and the number one things you do want to do on YouTube. And added to that, we're going to talk about leverage and trolls, which is, I mean, there's always going to be trolls. There's always going to be things to think about. So let's jump into it here on GodMade. On GodMade, we talk about things that have to do with the Christian creator economy. So whether you're a YouTuber that's getting started, or you're having a business that deals with Christianity in some way, or you're just a Christian that has a bakery, whatever that looks like, we want to jump into all of that and talk about how we can continue to succeed, continue to grow our businesses, and be successful, because $10 million in your hands is a lot better than $10 million in the world's hands. And so that's what we want to kind of figure out today. All right, Matt, you want to jump us off here?
Yes, we're going to talk about trolls and negative comments. And so my YouTube channel finally has gotten traction.
Yeah.
Thus, I'm getting comments, which is amazing. Like, people around the world, around the country, take an interest in something you created. And for the most part, it's encouraging. You're like, awesome. They are saying, thank you for making this video. They're correcting something maybe I said wrong. And it's like, I just, I go in there and comment back. And, you're trying to build that community. But then you get either the trolls who are trying to just stir up dissension, or you have the person who disagrees with you, and finding the balance of when, like, there's a Proverbs, I think it's in Proverbs 24, Proverbs 26, but there's certain people you just don't engage with. You don't stoop down to their level.
You just let the fool be the fool.
Let the fool be the fool. Exactly. And so, just kind of would love to hear your guys' take on when do we engage and when do we block and when do we, what's the appropriate way to deal with?
I'd love to hear what that was like for Walker Stalkers and everything that you've been through. I wonder, that's such a huge platform to be like, to be public on, and to be connected to The Walking Dead and have that authority there. So I'd love to hear that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it was because of that experience that I came up with a rule that 5% of anyone that gets involved in your community is going to be a hater, regardless of what you do.
That high, 5%.
5%.
Wow.
I just kind of came up. Maybe it was higher in my field of business, but yeah, there was just those people that you could never please, no matter what you did. And I think it's when you deal with someone in person, though, versus somebody online, there is a much greater chance of that dissension to go down, and because you can get a chance to hear each other. And obviously there's much more of a filter when you've got somebody face to face versus just sort of, I remember many times people would just be drunk and they would be typing stuff,
Right.
Or they would be on drugs and they would be writing stuff and it would just not go well, or they had a mental disorder or whatever.
Right.
And I include those people in the 5%, So if you go into it, understand, and at first I know, like, it was not just with Walker Stalkers, but anything that I did, I would get personally upset if anyone said one negative word when I was younger. And I would try my hardest to try to explain where we were coming from, because it was like no child left behind,
People pleaser.
Yeah.
For sure. And now where I've come to it, it's actually a huge compliment if you get a negative comment. Like, it's actually like a badge of honor that you got that. We got one for GodMade.
Exactly. We made it.
We made it. So we have a little bit of that badge. And I think it's actually part of the journey is understanding where you put them. Now, it depends on the business. So it's really valuable to have a high Yelp rating. If you are a bakery, the bakery you just mentioned, they want to have a 4.5 and above rating, and you do everything you can to make sure that customer is pleased or can change their rating or get you to that 5. Yep. But there are certain things where it's not as much of a rating system. Where it's you can be a lot looser. So it just depends on the industry.
Yeah, and that's the realm that I'm in, right? Like with YouTube, there's definitely probably that 5% that just is, they either don't like your content for a specific reason. For example, I've been pretty outspoken about my beliefs as a Protestant, right? And like, there's certain things that obviously I'm a Protestant because I don't believe certain things in other areas, right? So like, it might be a Catholic issue, or like, there's a lot of people that had originally watched The Chosen that are really big in LDS, right? And so those two in particular, people have really backed off of my content because they've realized, oh, he's not going to agree with me on these things, right? But then I have a good a good portion of people that are in those areas that just understand that, right? They understand that I'm going to think differently, and they're okay with those sort of things. I have people that will hate watch me because they don't like that I'm successful, or that I've made the videos that I do, or that I get the views that I do, right? And so they really don't like it, and they'll try to pick out any little thing ever that I do wrong, right? But it's a recurring person. It's like that same person will show up and like just to nitpick about certain things that I say, right? Because they really don't, they're either jealous or they don't like what I do or whatever, right? But they'll always come back. My thing is like, I'm just going to keep on making great content, so they're forced to come back, right? Because they like this niche so much, they like the Chosen and biblical media so much, that they will always come back to look at the things that I talk about because I am relevant and because I am needed in the space, right? And so if I keep on creating that type of content, of course, 95, 99% of the comments are almost always positive, right? They're almost always kind and nice, and everything is good, but there's definitely always that portion that is there for whatever reason they want to be there, or they just kind of randomly stumbled on the channel and they're like an atheist and they hate all things Christianity. But yeah,
well, and the trap can be sometimes that you feel like you need to hop into the comments and then change their mind, but when has that ever worked? Using some discernment. But then there's also learning experiences, that get that other perspective. Like some people may be commenting a dissenting view, they still love what you're doing, so be open to like, and I've use it as content, if someone has a dissenting view, and that's where the Holy Spirit will prompt us to go, all right, Lord, do I need to be taking this? Like this is someone I'm not in a relationship with and don't know them, but maybe I need to consider that. And so,
I've made whole content about that specific thing. So I've got this one guy, he's a younger guy, and not my normal demographic at all, like young male, like in his 20s, I think. And he wrote this big long paragraph on one of the first messages I ever saw from him. He wrote this big long paragraph on my channel, and I caught it like almost immediately. It was like a minute or two after he wrote it. And he was being nice, but it was like, hey, I don't know if I can be part of this community because I'm an atheist, but I'm being treated like this, and this in the chosen groups, like on Facebook and on YouTube and different things like that. And so that night, it was Sunday that he posted the comment. That night, I made a video talking about his comment specifically. And I asked him, I replied on the comment. I was like, hey, do you mind if I use this for a video? He's like, yeah, sure. Like talk about it, So we got to talk about this topic that I never probably would have really talked about because I'm not an atheist who's in these groups, right? And so his response to that being like, hey, I'm frustrated about this, allowed us to open up and talk about these things more freely, which is really, really cool. I
think that's the most healthy way to respond to a negative comment or criticism. It really depends, Usually what I will do, if it's just a comment or something like that, I will write a response. I will make sure that every comment gets a response.
Yeah.
And something that's kind and considerate and, hey, thanks for the feedback, and we will definitely take that in consideration. Or I will give them a suggestion about, like on my Quiet Time channel, when my kind of the one video that went viral, almost all the comments were negative. I was like, oh, great. This is wonderful. And most of them were about, hey, you have ads running while I'm sleeping. I can't watch this. Yeah. And then, I gave some suggestions about some ways that they can alleviate that. But, but they never came back. And so it's a little bit different. It depends on the type of comment, or especially something you'll deal with is probably a scripture correction, where hey, this isn't biblical. Here's what the Word of God says, and it's sometimes
or a different interpretation. So like what I say could be true, but it also could be BCD. It could be something that's slightly different. And I try to be really clear when I talk about things like that. That I'm like, hey, here's what I think or what I interpret it as, or even better. Is I'll say, hey, here's option 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then at the end I'll say I'm kind of leaning towards this one, but yes, there's definitely the fact checkers for sure, which is I think a good thing to have in general. But I like what you're saying earlier. with being face to face.
Yes.
I think a comment can do a very similar thing. So I will often reply. I don't reply to a lot of bad comments, but if it's someone who's on the fringe of being like, oh, they just misunderstood this, then I will definitely reply with like, hey, that's not what I said or what I meant. Here's what I actually said and meant. And I think most people got that, sort of thing. And they'll be so surprised that you responded, especially when you're a bigger channel. They'll be so surprised that you even saw their comment and that you responded, that they'll immediately soften, and then they'll just become a part of your community again.
Yeah, and that's a great way to win a fan or win a viewer, a subscriber, is to do something like that.
Yeah.
And I think kindness will always go very, very far, especially on a public-facing platform.
Yeah. Well, and as a God-made Christian content creator, like, don't forget that the comment section could be a place of ministry.
Yeah.
Like we were talking before we recorded, like there's the flip side of boundaries, so like don't get into a multi-day comment back and forth.
Yes, please don't.
Like I don't think that's fair to you. That's not going to do, but realize there are hurting people. That's why we're creating Christian content, to encourage the body, but there's going to be other people who stumble upon it. And remember, like they may be saying something that's coming from some deep hurt, so don't take it so personal and go, well, all right, Lord, how could I send a gracious word back that will impact them?
Yeah.
Well, I will delete people who are trying to sell,
Absolutely.
that are trying to take
Yeah.
advantage of my platform for their own personal gain.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah, I have a few different rules. So I'll say if anybody attacks me or my family directly with like insults, things like that, you're just done. And on YouTube, it's great because you can just hide them from the channel, which means they don't know that they're banned. They don't get a notification that they're banned. Nobody else knows that they're banned. They just disappear into the ether. So they can still comment, and it looks like they're leaving a comment on your channel, but no one, including me, will ever see it. And they just go into the ether, and no one ever likes or comments on their comments ever again.
That's
right?
brilliant.
So YouTube, I love the way that they've done it because it makes it so that there's no like, it's just a ether button. I love it. But there's a few rules that I have, which is like, don't attack me or my family. Don't start huge arguments. Like if you're just going to continue to argue, I'll give you a warning. And if I see a thread that has like 100, replies on it, and it's just two people going back and forth, I'll literally just go in the replies and be like, hey, if you continue this, I'm just going to ban you both, and then you'll be gone. I made a video, a few weeks ago about the whole I made a post about the Charlie Kirk stuff, and I said if I see one single negative comment from anybody, I'll just ban you from the channel. And I warn them ahead of time, like letting them know, hey, these are the rules, this is the community, and if you act this way, then you're going to get banned. But if there's anybody that's criticizing me or saying, hey, I didn't like what you did, or like, here's point this and this, why you should have done this, then I'm perfectly fine with all of those, and I will never ever ban anybody for that. So there's only very particular things, it's like selling or hate speech or like attacking somebody that I'll ban for, and that's pretty rare, I'd say.
Yep.
That's awesome.
I ran a Facebook group for our neighborhood. I started a Facebook group for our neighborhood. That was the worst experience ever. Never.
Why would
it.
you do that to
I
yourself?
don't know. Oh man, I was a sucker for punishment.
Did you join the HOA then too?
No, that kept me far away from the HOA. So never do that again. Don't moderate a Facebook group for your community, for your neighborhood.
Yeah, and then don't let the trolls and let the negative comments keep you from doing what God's called you to do with content.
Yeah.
Because I know that it can get under your skin and then cause you to maybe change your content. And don't do that. Don't let it, consider it. It's great. You have people who do have a dissenting view of your content, and also keep it in perspective. More people than not like your content. It's going to be the 5%, the 1 to 5%.
Yeah. Reframing it is really important.
Yeah.
Especially in the beginning. And it could be a benefit to you if you're getting multiple comments about the same thing. There's obviously something that needs to change. So.
Yeah, definitely distinguish a genuine concern from a troll in the comments, for sure. And don't let it disproportionately affect you either. This is very hard, especially for new creators, where it's like they'll get 100 great comments and they're like, oh, that can't be true. and then they'll get the one false, like, bad comment, and they're like,
exactly.
yep, that is exactly, like, it cuts to the core of who they are, because it speaks to some sort of truth within you of, like, you think that you're not good enough, or you're not worth having this channel, or there's that imposter syndrome. Yeah, exactly.
That's why on Amazon it's important to look at the 3 and 4 ratings.
Yes.
To see that's where the real people are. It's not the 1s, it's not the 5s, it's the 3 and 4s.
Yeah.
So yep.
Yeah. Super interesting. Leverage.
What's
up with leverage?
Leverage. I love talking about leverage because I think it's a core principle for the entrepreneurial person, the creator who wants to grow. And it's a marketing principle, I think. So I follow a guy named Justin Welsh. I first started looking at his content on Twitter or X. Started looking at that, and then I learned much more about him. I took a deep dive. I bought a couple of courses from him. And so Justin Welsh is a great follow. He has a lot of insights, kind of like a James Clear is for Atomic Habits.
Okay.
He's sort of like that for the solopreneur. And he has a weekly newsletter. Yes, I still subscribe to emails, and I love getting, like, James Clear is one I always open, and Justin Welsh is one I always open because I feel like it has a lot of value for me as a marketer, as a creative entrepreneur. And so the article that he shared last week actually is called "Leverage is the Solopreneur Cheat Code." And he talked about 4 main things that, or really it's actually 5 high impact leverage points to focus on. One is the content multiplication effect. 2, your time has 2 price tags. 3, the hell yes filter. Can I say hell on this podcast?
I think it's fine. I think it's a place.
We just, the stories sell, features fail, and distribution beats everything. Those were his 5 main points. And I kind of want to just touch on them and just get your quick feedback on them. Yeah. So the first one was the content multiplication effect. The idea was that each piece of content should grab your attention in 5 seconds that you create. It should remain relevant for 12 months and function across at least 3 platforms.
Yeah, I think this is ideally. So, like, I'll have content that all my content tries to grab you within the first 5 seconds for sure. I would say being relevant for 12 months is a bit harder to do for some channels. So, like, there are some things, for example, we're talking on here about, like, we're trying to limit our use of, like, news, for example, here, right? Because first of all, we're ahead. We're going to be a few weeks. This podcast will launch a few weeks after these things have already happened. So it's like the news cycle has already changed to something way different, right? And so that's hard. So when you're talking about news, like, that stuff can be relevant for a day, you know? Like,
Sure.
Like, it could depend on when you post it for sure. So I would say I would agree generally, and ideally, yes, you would want your stuff to be evergreen to last forever.
Because it will leverage for you. It'll be like leverage for you.
Yeah, I just don't think it's possible all the time.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, ideally, yes, I would love all my content to be relevant for as long as possible. Yeah.
And function across at least 3 platforms.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that's pretty good for, like, we're doing that. YouTube, our audio platform.
And socials.
And then socials. So we're kind of at least going on. And then there's several platforms on the social
the
side.
site and hopefully
Instagram,
email eventually.
I think he should have added one more thing to that, and it would be consistency. Consistency in how frequently you're creating content, but then also the quality. And so that, yes, you need to have a good hook, 5 seconds, but if you're consistently bringing value, you maybe don't have to have that good hook, but your consistency, people know that I like what the GodMade guys are talking about, you know? So maybe their intro wasn't relevant to me or didn't hook me.
Right.
But I do know that I want to hear the whole conversation because they're going to give me some value within the Christian content creation space. Yeah.
And if there's trust there too, like, if they're like, okay, I'm not sure I really want to watch this video that's talking about, like, you know, retention hacks or something, right? But I also understand that every single time I've watched this podcast, there's been something of value. I think that is huge for sure. Yeah.
So the next one was your time has 2 price tags. Basically talking about delegating lower value tasks so you can spend your time on high value work. So for him, the admin, the support stuff, really costs him a lot of his, very useful time, where, an hour of his time in terms of what his earning potential is so much higher. If he's working on more strategy, big picture, product design, more high value, return on investment work. And we've all made the mistake of spending hours and hours editing something or trying to figure out how to be in taxes. It's much better to hire a CPA. Let me tell you, that's the first person I hired.
That was the first one I hired for, not in my create. I mean, I'm in the beginning of my creator space, so I'm doing it all. But I would love to be able to hire a thumbnail artist or a video editor in the future, and that can focus on my content. But that's great. It's just not practical in the early days. But it's part of scaling at a certain point.
Absolutely, yeah. So I don't know how you feel. I'd be curious to hear how you feel about, because you do a great job of focusing on your strengths, what produces the greatest value for you. You have very minimal editing. We don't edit a lot for this GodMade podcast. We're really trying to batch our work. So we're doing this smart. We record 2 episodes in one sitting, so we don't have to drive constantly back and forth to each other's studio, etc. So.
I think about systems a lot. So because I think it's one of the most important things, if not the most important thing, whenever you're creating content. Because if you want to be consistent and you want to have high quality, you need to have the systems to do that, especially if you're busy or if you just want extra time. So for me, I have essentially, a very low work week. And that is on purpose because I want to have the time to ideate and just to live my life and just to have ideas naturally come to me, right? If I'm just hustling all day, every day in order to get things done, then I don't have time to do a GodMade podcast. I don't have time to do all these other things, right? So if I'm wanting to put out 4 to 5 videos a week, there's zero chance I'd have time for anything else, right? If I'm having to record, edit, and do everything, in a different way. So my system of live streaming and breaking them up allows me to do that really well. In this context, right, the cameras that we're using, everything that we're doing here is because I don't want to spend 6 to 8 to 10 hours editing this podcast. Because if I don't have this system and I have 4 cameras, that's 4 SD cards I have to put in my computer. That's all the data that I have to manage doing that. It's all of the editing that I have to do. Even if I'm using multicam editing, which makes it a little bit easier, it's still going to mean that I have to sit through the entire podcast and I have to go through at least twice the length of the podcast in order to edit it down, in order to get the shots that I want. Then I have to go through and make everything exactly the way that I want it. Yes, there's more control there, but there's also a lot more time that I'm wasting during the week. And so the systems for me is incredibly, incredibly important. And so if you're spending 8 hours editing a video and it's a bad idea, that's way worse. If you're spending 8 hours, editing and doing a video, when you could have spent an hour doing that, and then you could see that it's wrong and then you redo it, that's even better. I think if you have better systems to do that kind of stuff. But
I think Pat Flynn talked about it, where his 60-day journey that he went on for his shorts channel that he started for opening up a card a day.
Should I open it or should I keep it sealed? I watched so many of those.
Good voice. I forgot you're super good at singing.
Worship leader.
But this is that kind of thing. It's like a consistent thing that your audience will expect every single time. And he batched it where at first it took him 45 minutes to edit a video, and now he just did it in 12 minutes.
But he still edits those videos.
He
even
still
today.
edits them. Yep.
So
crazy.
It's to say for me personally in my life, right? I'm trying to save up for a house. So I am not going to spend money on editors. I'm not going to spend money on people to do stuff for me right now because all of my money I want to go to getting a house, because getting a house is expensive and I'm a millennial. Most millennials don't have houses. So I would like to have a house, a place that I can call my own. And this fly has been so annoying. But having a place I can call my own and actually live for once in my life and settle in, right? I don't want to worry about hanging a TV or putting a picture frame on a wall. I want to be able to have all this stuff for cameras and lights connected to scaffolding and whatever I want to do in my house, that all is important to me. So because of that, I'm not spending my money at the moment throwing it at things to make my life easier. I'm going to create systems to make my life easier. Then I'm able to do those things without worrying about, having the time to dedicate to other things.
Super good. All right, the hell yes filter. I've applied this a lot in my life. I used to say yes to so many things. And I think we say yes to a lot of stuff when we're younger or just starting out doing something because, first of all, we're not sure whether something's going to work, so we have to try it. But eventually, if something does not give you life, if something doesn't give you energy, there's that. Am I going to say hell yes or heck yes to this?
Yeah.
Or or if I'm not feeling it, if it's not 100% yes, then it's better to not do it. And that's leverage in and of itself because you're making a choice, making decisions quickly based even with just that filter can save you a lot of time and headaches and leverage you.
Yeah, and saying yes to one thing is saying no to something else.
Exactly.
You know, so you got to know the balance.
I think we're all doing this at a very high level. I think we could be doing it at even a more detailed level. So like, yes, we're saying heck yes to like, we're saying that to things like that. Let's reverse that. We're saying heck no to a lot of things that we don't want to do.
Yep.
For example, like I'm not going to start an OnlyFans, right? Like that is obviously something that is never. It's never going to be on the cards for me to do, right? I'm never going to manage OnlyFans women. That's just not on the cards for me to do, right? It's not what I find value in. It's not morally what I want to do. Also, I'm not going to start, for example, a race car channel, right? Because it's not something I'm interested in. It's just not something I'm going to go towards. So we have these limited like filters that we have, but I think they need to go even more granular. So like in your content, for example, for me, I've gone down to the granular level of I'm not going to just do a Christian channel. I'm not just going to talk about Christian topics. I'm not just going to teach through the Bible, but I'm specifically going to talk about biblical media. And what is biblical media? It's not just Christian media. It's not just, VeggieTales or anything that has to do with the faith. It's not faith-based media. It is specifically biblical media, right? So I've brought down those categories all the way down to where I am currently.
That's huge.
And so that for me became my heck yes, right? Because I was like, I don't really want to talk about God's Not Dead 15. I don't want to talk about VeggieTales. I don't want to talk about all these things that aren't specifically biblical media.
Based on the Bible.
But biblical media gets me fired up because I'm able to show people, hey, the Bible says this, and it's like a real legit thing that actually happened. Here's the archaeological evidence that goes with it, and here's the historical, cultural, context, and like that really excites me because that's where my faith comes from.
That's a big filter. The excitement and the energy level. We have limited amounts of it, and so I think it's a huge one to pay attention to. The next one, quickly: stories sell, features fail. People buy through narrative and emotional resonance, not features lists. So it's really, really important that you connect with your audience with your why, or a story does a great job of that. Telling a story hooks people in. It's the way we make decisions, whether we like it or not. We like to think that we're super factual and we make decisions based on that. But again, we base it on what we're passionate about, what's interesting to us, what fires us up. It's an emotion. And that's the emotional resonance is created by storytelling. So
Jesus did it. Parables. Like he's our example of he had a message. He had the message. And what did he do? How did he do it? Was through parables and examples and stories.
Yeah, great stories.
Yeah, I think also you think of like an Apple event. Yes, there's a lot of specs. There's a lot of, hey, battery life is good. Camera is good, whatever it is. But what do they start every single segment out with during an Apple event? It's not all the features. It's not this list of numbers and words, right? They started out with, this year we wanted to approach the new iPhone 17 Air with this in mind, right? We wanted to have it as the thinnest possible thing. We wanted to make it out of titanium so it's strong and you can't break it. Or the new iPhone 17 design it's back to a unibody aluminum design that it can be anodized in these interesting colors. And the story behind it is this thing, right? This is the reason for you to buy. People have already decided at that point whether they're going to buy the new iPhone or not.
Exactly.
Then you get into the features. Then they get excited and hyped about these new things that are going to be on their new iPhone that they've already decided to buy.
It's like that Simon Sinek why.
Start with why.
Start with why, then go to how, then go to what.
Well, and Apple, for like their watches, I know they've done some videos in the past where they'll show, it'll be a story of a family member who needed help and they could call SOS on their watch. Like it started with like the visual storytelling of, here's how this technology with features is applied to your daily life.
Yeah.
Even ChatGPT is doing this right now too. Like they had their OpenAI event a little while ago, and like one of the main things in there was, hey, look how good we are at indicating health problems. And so they brought this woman up who only was diagnosed because her doctors couldn't figure it out, but she was diagnosed through ChatGPT, and it allowed her to figure out something that the doctors couldn't figure out, right? Which brought her to not die, like no matter what you think about AI, like that's an incredible story,
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah. I have now like master chats that have gone on for days and days and days. You guys too?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I have one that's like my health one. I have all of my health records. Probably not a good idea, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's out there.
It's out there now.
The privacy is maybe an issue, but we'll talk about that in the future. Yeah.
All right, last one. Distribution beats everything. It's actually even genius. He says, a great product with poor visibility loses to a good product that everyone sees. So he spends 80%, the 80-20 rule, of his effort on distribution. And always focused on one platform first, really disciplined himself to focus on one platform. And for him, that was LinkedIn. Yep. So once he kind of mastered LinkedIn.
It's such a weird platform to focus on.
But for him, it's perfect because it's like these words of wisdom and like, so it worked. And then from there, he moved to Twitter or X, and then he built that platform. And then kind of everything else was sort of secondary, but he focused 80% of his time on really getting solid distribution into the one platform, which I think is a great strategy, especially if you have limited amounts of time.
Yeah, Gary Vee has talked about this for years too. This idea that you need to focus on one thing, really, really get it running, and then you can kind of dabble in the others, and then you can focus on those and have different moments for your life. Like for me, I can't start working on merch as the first thing that I work on. I need to build my community first, right? And then when my community wants something like that, then I can give it to them, and then they'll respond, right?
Yeah. Speaking of merch, you want this GodMade mug? You can get it at GodMadeCreators.com.
It's true. It's actually a pretty good price too. I super, super great mug. Really awesome stuff.
Sorry, I'm hawking the wares.
I love it. If you guys do want to check out GodMadeCreators.com, we do have a bunch of stuff over there, including extra content beyond these podcasts here. You can kind of experience it as we've recorded it live. We call it Podcast Raw or GodMade Raw on the site. And then we also have one-on-one coaching cohorts, things like that we're going to do in the future. So we'd love to have you be a part of it. So great segue for sure.
Good. That's it for me on the leverage side.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, continuing on the tactical element here, I wanted to talk about this topic overall. We're going to do a new feature, which is screen share.
Dun, dun, dun.
So here, let's jump into talking about this video real quick. I'll let it play, and then I'll kind of explain what's kind of going on here.
Whereas it seems like the ad revenue, which still does make up a large portion, I'd probably say ad revenue specifically for my channel, for me, makes up around about, I'd probably say about 70% of the budget for projects. And if that 70% basically turns into nothing because of YouTube's shenanigans, it means I'm not sure what it means. I'm not sure what it means right now. But that's kind of what's been happening with views, specifically for the last month. I've never had to take down this many videos ever before. It's been absolutely wild. And I just don't have, like, the type of content that I make, it does not lend itself to this sort of turbulence, I would.
All right, so let's talk about this. I have seen dozens and dozens and dozens of videos like this where they're talking about how YouTube has changed or something is wrong and it's hurting my content, right? One of the things that annoyed me most about this video, and I don't know this guy, I don't really follow him, I just saw this because I'm a YouTuber and it popped up on my feed, right? But the very first thing, like within the first 2 minutes of this video, he talks about how he's been deleting videos. Like within the last month, he's deleted 6 videos, he said, that he just posted, essentially, because he's embarrassed of how they're performing, right? And he says basically it's better for me just not to post the video than to have a video with low views.
Wow, I've never heard that.
It's super annoying to me.
Actually, I've heard that a lot lately.
Have you?
Really?
It's super annoying to me because I have had several videos. I have every single week, right? I post a lot of videos. So basically every week I have a 1 out of 10 and I have a 10 out of 10, which on YouTube means 1 out of 10 is your best of the last 10 videos.
Right.
And then a 10 out of 10 is your worst of the last 10 videos.
And you're
right?
not taking either one down.
And I'm not taking either one down. And I think specifically it's important because I've had videos that it might take a day for them to take off. They might immediately take off, right? Might take a day, might take a week, might take a month, might take a year. I have a video in particular on the Snipe Life that is one of my biggest videos on the Snipe Life now. But literally it did nothing. Like I'm talking about tens or hundreds of views for the first year. The first year that it was on the platform. It's about Methuselah, the oldest man in the Bible. Okay?
Yeah.
It's the most random, like biblical topic, but it's searchable and people wanted to know about it, right? So a year later, you can see it on the graph, and maybe I'll pull it up here so you guys can see. A year later is when it starts to take off, and then it just starts going up, and it just never stopped. Like it was just super steady all the way forever,
Interesting.
right?
Yeah.
Because people were interested in this topic. And so, like, why would you ever take down a video? Like, that is going to send YouTube so many horrible signals.
Yeah.
So we're not necessarily talking about that today. This video got me so fired up because it was just so whiny of like, wow, like, woe is me. Why aren't you guys watching my videos? YouTube hates me. Like, that kind of stuff to me is like the most annoying.
I think you should have taken that video down. The one that he's tired of it. To me, this is all about me.
Yeah.
This is about metrics that glorify. I don't know this guy either.
Yeah.
But you are making this content for your audience.
Yes.
And let your audience, like, take it down if it's extremely offensive to your audience, maybe.
Yeah.
But not just because it's not getting vanity metrics or
Right.
numbers right away. You're missing out.
Yeah, I think what actually happened is that what he does is, I looked at his channel because I was like, what is going on with this guy? But basically his channel is like old, like weapons or like movie props, basically like movie swords. He talks a lot about like Lord of the Rings, like swords and different weapons and things. And like he tests them out and makes his own and, does all this different type of stuff. So it's interesting, but the videos that he says that he's taken down are things that are like adjacent to that, but slightly off, right? Which means that of course they're going to be lower in views because YouTube will then have to spend time in order to find the audience specifically for that niche, right? Where it's not your main thing that you're doing, but it's slightly off. It's a little bit different, right? And then later on in this video, it was really funny to me because he's like, man, I spent a lot of time and money on these videos and I really like doing them, blah, 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 blah. And lately I've had to like make other videos that it's like more studio based and I'm like talking about specific things or explaining something. And man, those videos do so well. I don't understand. And I'm like, then why don't you do more of those videos? Like maybe that's what your audience really, really likes and they want you to do more of those. Like, and those don't cost you any money. You don't have to go out and build a weapon or do these different things. So anyway, all of that to say, that really got me thinking about this video that I was watching last night, right before I went to bed, which is a guy named Tierzoo. Have you ever heard of him?
Nope.
Tierzoo. So Tierzoo is a really big channel. He is, let me pull this up real quick. He basically, what he does is he does these tier lists of the animal kingdom. Okay.
Zero 2 though is what it's called.
Yeah, so this is his second channel called Zero 2. It's just flipped, right? So Tierzoo, but flipped. He just started this a few months ago.
Okay.
But the idea here is that
His name is actually Tierzoo.
well, his YouTube channel.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm getting sidetracked with the name.
Is he doing
It's
this
a
in
play on
sauna?
tier list and then zoo, like nature, right?
Got it.
So he'll take animals in the animal kingdom and he'll portray them as if they're in a video game.
Oh, okay.
And so he'll talk about like these characters that have chosen the elephant avatar, for example, and he's teaching and he's educating through this lens of video games. It's really amazing.
Channel for everybody.
Yeah, his stuff is really, really amazing, and he's got millions of subscribers. I mean, he's a huge channel. This channel in particular is talking about YouTube advice and things like that. So we're not going to watch the whole thing, but I'll play the very beginning of it for you, just so you can see kind of what we're talking about here, and then we're going to kind of break it down so we don't have to watch the entire.
I've been
video.
doing YouTube for nearly a decade now, and over the course of my career, I've heard all sorts of advice tossed around. Some of this advice dramatically reshaped the way I thought about the YouTube algorithm. But some of it, looking back, was just complete nonsense. And what better way to structure a video with a list of bad, mid, and good things than a tier list? Let's get into it.
All right, so this is the YouTube advice tier list here. It's quite interesting to me. I'm going to go through the whole tier list. I just have it written down here so we don't have to watch the whole 40-minute video. But I do want to go from F tier to S tier. And it's interesting, some of the things we've even talked about in this session here, in this podcast, actually have been brought up here, which is interesting. So, the first thing that he says in the F tier, which is like, F tier is like, do not do these things. They will have negative, horrible effects on your channel, right? The very first thing that he says is deleting old or bad videos, right?
Should get these two guys together.
Yes, yeah, we should. The reason why this is such a bad idea is because it will change the way that YouTube recommends who your video is going towards and who your audience is, okay? So let's say, for example, on your YouTube, you have videos A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? If you go online, if Matt goes online and he watches video B and D, and then after that, he goes and watches video A, right? Then that sets some sort of metric for who you are as a person and what you like to watch, right? Then Eric goes online and he sees videos A and D. It's going to serve you video B or whatever the other video that Matt watched was, right? Because it's going to see your watching habits and it's going to say, okay, you're very much like this person. We're going to send you both this video, right? And it does that individually for every single viewer of the channel. So YouTube doesn't care about YouTube creators and sending them out to people and giving them impressions. It cares about giving viewers what they want to watch, right? And so you taking out an old or a bad video really hurts that, right? We've already talked about that one. So
because they don't have anything to compare it to or recommend it to anymore.
Correct.
You just removed it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And when you delete the video, especially, it deletes all of that data that goes along with it, making it worse for you and maybe even the niche that you're in. Right. And so, do not delete those videos. Eventually, YouTube will find an audience for it if it's a good video. And that audience will love it. So, don't do that. Don't do that for sure. F tier as well. All engagement is good engagement, meaning that if I can farm rage baits or anything else, it's like this can be a good thing. What do you guys think about this one?
No, right?
Okay.
We don't want to farm out rage bait. Like it's not. They're not all equal.
Yeah, like I'm not going to farm on this channel. Like we're not going to say particular like opinions just to get people to comment on it, right? Or like we're not going to like make a mistake and be like. And make people point out that mistake, for example, right? Or make a bad video in order for people to just see the bad video.
Right. Yeah.
You want genuine critique.
Yeah.
And as long as it's genuine.
I care about gaining the trust of our audience, right?
Yeah.
And making people feel like they can rely on us. Also, I think it's important that people get to know us a little bit too, and we show our personalities more and more. And, we're authentic. I think Google is rewarding you for authenticity, right?
Yeah. I think they're definitely rewarding you for authenticity. They're rewarding you for viewer satisfaction. That's the metric that they are going for. So the longer the viewer watches, the more that they engage. The best thing that you could possibly do to help out a creator that you love. Wink, wink. Is to watch multiple videos of theirs in a row because all the way through. Sure, yeah. But the idea there is that YouTube is going to look at that and say, okay, there is a lot of value that's happening here because if there was clickbait or whatever else, YouTube is going to shut down that viewing session with that particular creator pretty fast, right? And bring them over to other people that will keep them on the platform for longer. So that's the idea there. But no, not all engagement is good engagement. I think that there are plenty of people who've been turned into memes who can tell you that's not the case, right? While some of those people have come out all right, there's a lot of people that have been turned into memes or that have been clowned on online that it's turned out really bad for them, right? D tier. Let's move on to D tier, which is like, D tier is like, it's pretty bad. You probably should not do these things, but in certain niche situations, it could work out, basically. So D tier is collabs are a good or the best way to grow your channel. What do you guys think about this?
So I'm confused. So collabs are the best way or good way? I mean, I think it is important. I do. I think collabs is a good way.
It's got to be the right collab.
Sure.
There's a good collab, but there's a bad collab, but not all collabs. Because
Well,
if we
it depends on what you mean by collab. We were talking earlier about in another episode about guest appearances and going on other people's. If it's connected,
yeah. But if we're doing a cooking channel and then we bring in someone who talks about cleaning your garage, like, well, I wanted the cooking channel,
right? Sure.
So,
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, your mind mostly goes towards the podcasting world.
Mine goes towards podcasting,
which I think is 100% effective. I think this would be S or A tier in podcasting world.
Okay.
But we're talking specifically about YouTube here. So the YouTube tier list, collabs are kind of meh. Like, they don't necessarily hurt your channel, necessarily. They can in some instances, like Matt's saying. If you have a completely different niche that is just coming on your channel for no reason.
Yeah.
Like, if I brought on even someone close, let's say if I brought on Ruslan on my channel, wouldn't help me. Wouldn't help me at all.
Okay.
unless you guys talked only about The Chosen.
Maybe, but even then, a lot of his people are not coming to my platform.
Yeah.
Because it's a completely different niche.
Okay, so for example, I used to watch this guy named Ed Bassmaster, and he does pranks. And but then he did a combo prank with Jack Vale. And Jack Vale and Ed Bassmaster used to do pranks together in their videos, and those were hugely popular. I think that was a good collab because I think it connected both of those.
They shared audiences.
They shared audiences.
Yeah.
So that's the instance where I think it would work, but
Yeah,
maybe not.
yeah. And again, this is not like a horrible thing that's like it's going to kill your channel. It's just not really going to be beneficial.
Good to know. Yeah, great.
Yeah. Next up is censoring your speech. So we talked about this before. Censoring your speech using euphemistic slang. So like, like using unalived instead of killed, stuff like that. This is something that's just not really super necessary. And we've already talked about that. So we'll move on to the next one. Premieres help your channel grow. This is a D tier thing. So premieres on YouTube basically are you can set a video to premiere, which will then do a countdown, and it'll bring up a live chat, almost like you're doing a live stream, right? Basically, this doesn't really help. And in my personal opinion, I'll say it in a second, but Eric, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm definitely down on the premieres. I find them to be complicated and annoying.
Okay.
But it is for something like in the music industry, if you're really looking for, or if you're a Taylor Swift fan and you're really looking forward to kind of watching the premiere video, I think that was the initial, reason for it. But I think that was like a trend maybe 5-7 years ago. It just doesn't seem to be necessary anymore.
Matt?
I think if you have an existing audience who loves what you're doing, it could work. Because again, you're really just trying to get people to click notify me, and then they get an email and alert when it goes live, I guess.
Yeah.
Or the other instance would be when if you're like a podcast, you've got a big guest, and that big guest is going to send people to that video.
Yeah.
And then I think there's great value in they're sending their audience, hey, I'm going to be on this channel. Make sure you go check it out. And then it just gives people that option to click notify me when you're going live. So I think there's some use cases.
Yeah, I think there are a few use cases. I think generally probably 80 to 85% of the time, it's more annoying than it's not.
Yeah.
For example, if I have a big video, let's say I have like a 2-hour long deep dive thing that I'm going through, right? And I do it as a premiere. Yeah, I'm going to have people show up early. Yes, they're going to be chatting in the chat. Yes, there's some potential for them even to leave like a super chat or a super thanks, right? Which is cool. Like that's a cool feature that they can add on there and maybe do a donation or whatever else. However, it's going to be mega annoying for the person that shows up an hour in and they just wanted to watch the video. And now, first of all, you know that premieres are not full resolution. Sometimes they're capped off at 720p.
Oh, really?
And so it looks horrible. It's not as good as you want it to be. And then on top of that, like it's super annoying because everybody's chatting in the chat and like they're spoiling things that happened way later in the video and you just show up an hour and a half into a 2-hour video. Like there's so many annoying things that come along with it that I am not a huge fan. If you have like a big thing that's upcoming, sure, it could work in some niches.
Yeah.
I just think it's more annoying than not. Most of the time.
And we live in an on-demand day. People will not shift their schedule around watching your video.
Generally. Yeah.
I mean, the only time I hit on those premieres, I click notify, it's just because I want to see it. I know I'm not going to watch it when it comes out. I could care less. Like I'm just going to watch it later that night. You know, it's just like another reminder in my busy day of like, oh yeah, this is a video I want to watch.
Yeah. I just realized I was on C tier when I was supposed to be talking about D tier. I'll go through these D tier ones pretty quickly. But D tier, like bad advice, is post at specific times of the day or the week. This doesn't matter. Todd Beaupre, who's like the head of the algorithm at YouTube, he's talked about this quite a lot. And essentially what he says is that within the first 2 weeks, there's no difference of when you post. Now, generally, it's quite a good idea if you're in the US to post during the day in US time. Or, man, I'm being attacked by this
That fly agrees with you.
Or like if you're in India, like post during that time, right? Like obviously you don't want to post at 3 a.m. in the US. But even if you do, over the first 2 weeks, there's no big difference.
So when are we posting our GodMade videos?
Friday at 7 a.m.
7 a.m.
Yeah. And that's just so that it's there during the day on Friday,
Central
and then
time.
people can watch it throughout the weekend.
Yeah.
So what about if we decided this week we're just going to release it on Thursday? Does that hurt even though we've been... Okay, because I've got a video on my own channel, and I'm trying to keep myself accountable and be consistent. Every Saturday I want to do it.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes, you know what? I haven't finished editing it, so Saturday is editing it, and I launch it Sunday. But now this week I've got one done early, and I'm like, do I wait till Saturday, or can I just launch it on a Wednesday or Thursday?
I think it's really great to be generally consistent over time.
Yeah.
I don't think it is necessary to be like, unless you're like a Good Mythical Morning, right? Where, do you know Rhett and Link, Good Mythical Morning? So,
well, when you've got people, you've established a huge audience, and they are looking forward to it.
And they've established a time. So like for them, they post at 6 a.m. I think every day, right? So for them, it's a little bit different. To show that they're posting every single day, people are expecting it as part of their habit, which is I think great to cultivate. However, if you're a normal YouTube creator, it does not matter when you post, because the first 2 weeks, it's just going to round out anyway, right?
Yep.
And
Well,
those people are going to watch
that's the take I've take was, okay, I could have launched these episodes on Saturday, but it's going to be better quality if I spend my Saturday refining it and then launching on Sunday.
Yeah.
That makes sense, actually.
Yeah.
For your audience.
Yeah, absolutely. Next one is in D tier, the algorithm will punish you for taking a break. This is sort of true, but in niche cases, I think. There are many different creators that I've seen who are massive creators. They'll take a break and they come back to the exact same viewership. Or their cadence is just a little bit different. Man, this fly, bro. It's the most annoying fly I've ever had in my life.
You would donate at GodMadeCreators.com.
Yes, we need a fly
swatter.
swatter. Yes. Oh, man, that's so annoying. But there's many creators who will post kind of randomly. Like Casey Neistat can post anytime, right?
Yeah, sure.
He is an outlier, but even within the normal kind of sense of YouTube people, I think if you are posting great content, it's going to be served at some point. Maybe not initially. Maybe it'll take YouTube a little bit of time to revamp and ramp up your content.
Yeah.
But I don't think a break will hurt.
Me and my son's favorite YouTuber, one of the favorite ones, is called Preston Goes.
Yeah.
And he is so erratic. And it drives my son nuts because he's like, Dad, check. I mean, it drives me nuts, actually. He's like, Dad, check and see if Preston Goes has a new video. And it's like, it's just whenever he gets it done. But his are very elaborate. He spends a lot of time on them. But he's doing just fine. Just surpassed 1 million subscribers. And again, he's focusing on the content and is making sure it's the best versus first Friday of the month or whatever.
I think Sean from Bikes and Beards took like a month off or more between videos sometimes because he actually felt it helped things for him.
Yeah, when he moved to Tennessee, he took quite a while off.
Yeah,
because he was just getting settled in. And
but
all
he's
that
still
kind of
doing that
stuff.
now.
Yeah. All right. Just do this one weird trick and it'll all be okay. It'll work. It'll blow up your channel. So this is a huge piece of advice that I see from a lot of different like gurus online. It's like, go change your metadata behind the scenes and change the file name of your video, or like put these specific tags. Tags
I
are
fell for those. Oh man, with my Quiet Time channel, I've fallen for all of that. Oh, it's the worst.
Well, that's the human nature. Here's one diet hack. We're always looking for the short way to some success.
Yes.
Or we always feel like we don't know what we don't know. And so we just follow this advice. And
then marketers do a good job at finding that pain point and then trying to leverage it and get you to pay for a class, a course, the secret. You know?
But in general, this is a good rule of thumb. You cannot trick YouTube. So if you're trying to get extra views or buy views, YouTube will know about it. They know when bots are there. They know when other people are showing up from Bangladesh. Like, they know all that kind of stuff. They know when your mom watches your video 50 times because it's the same IP address every single time, right? Like, they can track all that kind of stuff. There's no way that you can trick YouTube into giving you more content or like finding a hack in order to get the system to work for you. Just in general, that's a good rule of thumb to help you make good content and content that's actually going to serve. So that's a big deal there. Next one is one bad upload will kill your channel. So if you have one bad video, you should get rid of it or whatever else because it's gonna hurt your channel. Not true, I don't think.
Not true. Yeah. No. I mean, you know better than anybody, but I certainly don't have enough experience on YouTube to give too much input on that.
One bad video, not based on analytics, but based on the content, could hurt your community. If you've promised them something and then you just take a total departure or you decide to go on a rant. Yeah. Like, I think, if we turn this into a political podcast, well, people came here, they want to learn God-made content creation, right? And if we went on a totally different topic, people are going to be like, I'm out. That's not what I signed up for. So I think
maybe, but I think it depends on how much trust you have too.
Yeah.
So like, let's say
what I'm saying is if you could do a bad video that betrays the trust.
Yeah. I would agree to a point because I think that let's say that we did this podcast for 5 years. We've got we've got 250 episodes out or whatever, and then we do one episode that's political.
Yeah,
like that is not going to kill the channel. It's not going to kill everything that we've done. It might make a few people on the fringe go away, but our core audience is going to see our hearts and who we are, right? Not that I want to talk about political stuff, but last one in D tier is monetization will hurt your channel, meaning that if you like turn on monetization or have sponsors in your videos, people will hate you essentially, which is just not true.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. Again, it's authenticity and how you present it, and if it's a natural thing that the audience really wants anyway.
Yep. Moving on, we've got C tier again, like I talked about before, collabs, censorship, censoring your speech, things like that. Premieres, we talked about. The next one is engage with your audience through update, Q&A, and milestone videos. These things are like, some people will say that they're good for your community. Some people will say like, no, this is probably bad because essentially people don't want to know about that kind of stuff. If you're a cooking channel, I don't really want to hear about your family or your different things that are happening behind the scenes. Like, it's not really what I'm here for, right?
But it is a nice way for people to get to know you better.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and if your content is overtly Christian content, you're trying to reach people for Christ, that's a report on how God's moving and reaching people.
Yeah.
So I think that could be a neat, if you change the lens of, oh, look at how good I got the silver play button or all these views, but you pivoted and go, no, look at how many people we reached for Christ.
Yeah.
This message got out through YouTube, through the podcast. So
yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I think that this is something that I do actually quite often. Not quite often, but I'll do it like a yearly video of being like, hey, here are my numbers for the year. I did this many views. I did this many watch hours. We've gained this many subscribers. And it is a community building tool. I do not do it for my main audience. So I'm not expecting it to be like the highest viewed video. But my core audience, like,
they'll love it.
They love those videos. And it really, it converts other people to becoming my core audience instead of just new viewers or returning viewers that kind of watch my stuff casually.
It's like sharing the mission of your channel.
Yes.
Yeah,
And as a Christian content creator, you're doing this for more than just views and monetization. There's a bigger purpose to it.
People want to follow somebody who's leading as well. And it shows good leadership
And vision.
for a community.
Yeah, vision I think is a huge word there for sure. So B tier. This is good, but it's not like the best ever. Right? So this is good ideas, not perfect ideas, right? So B tier, good ideas to keep in mind. Interested is interesting. So pretty good thing there.
What do you mean by that? Explain that real quick.
So if I'm excited and interested about a topic, that is going to get people excited and interested about like what I'm talking about.
And people can sense that when you're talking about something and you're genuinely interested in it.
Yeah. Yeah, if I'm missing the camera cues, by the way, it's because I'm trying to kill this fly. I'm trying to kill this fly, bro.
The title of this episode is The Buzz.
Is this 1080p or 4K? Because if it's 4K, they might see the fly.
Yeah, I know. It's so annoying, bro. Okay, so interested is interesting. So if you're passionate, like we were talking about before, if you're passionate about the topic.
So it's more important to be interested
Yes.
than to, wait, Is
it's
it
more important? It's more important to be interested in whatever you're talking about,
Right.
Because people will then see that within your content.
Got it.
So they will see, oh, this guy's really hyped about this.
Got it.
And so, like, if I see a 4-hour video on someone talking about Lego and they're like hyped about it the whole time, that's way more interesting to me than someone who is making a video about something just because they think it'll get views.
Okay, got it.
You see what I'm saying? So that's a huge thing there. Interested is interesting. Another one is shorts will help grow your channel. So yes, this is true. However, there are caveats to that, right? Shorts will help grow your channel. They'll give you views and subscribers. However, it'll maybe hurt your community aspect and the depth of your community overall. That's kind of the idea for YouTube. Next up is asking your audience to subscribe. It's a pretty good idea. Please subscribe to the channel. But it's not like it's not something you absolutely have to do. Right.
Yeah.
So
that was a thing though for a long time, and I
it's like
still see people doing
YouTube culture.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Next up is focus on your click-through rate. This is a misnomer because if you have a 50% CTR, which is your click-through rate, meaning that people see your thumbnail and they click into your video, right? If you have a 50% CTR, it probably means that you only have 2 people that have seen your video and 1 person clicked it, right? There's basically never a time when you're ever going to get a super high CTR like that. I would much rather have a video with a 1% CTR and 100 million impressions than I would a video with 50% CTR but 20,000 impressions.
What's the impressions? What does an impression mean?
So an impression means anytime anyone sees your video anywhere.
Okay.
So
for any length of time.
Not your video,
Title,
just
thumbnail.
your thumbnail. So your packaging.
Got it.
So let's say like I'm on the homepage of YouTube and they scroll past my video, that's 1 impression. If they see it on the suggested feed on the side when they're watching a different YouTube video, that's an impression. If they get a notification to their phone and they see that should be an impression, I think, as well. And so all of these different things are impressions. People have had the chance to see your video, but they haven't clicked through on it necessarily. Your CTR tells you the percentage of people that did click through on that. So having a super high CTR does not necessarily matter because you can have a video that's super successful, but the CTR is really low on it, right? Like my biggest video ever is like 500,000 views, right? And the CTR on that is actually pretty good still. It's like 4 or 5% on that. So it shows that video did really, really well within whoever YouTube was serving it to, if that makes sense.
Okay.
But CTR is not everything. That's basically what that's saying there. Next thing is get your audience to sign up for a newsletter. And so this is good advice, but it's not like you have to do this, right? So what do you guys think about newsletters?
Oh, 100%. You need to, whenever the algorithm changes, you want to still be able to reach your people. And so for longevity of it,
Yep. I'm a big advocate for newsletters, emails, collecting
texting
data.
list,
emails.
anything that you can have the data and you can move it to another platform. Like I have subscribers on YouTube, I can't move them to the next YouTube. But if I have their email list or their texting list, I can move them to a different way, and I can still reach out to them and say, "Hey, I moved over here. This is, it's invaluable."
Yep.
Okay, cool. And then the last one, that's last in B tier. Then we're going to A tier. So A tier and S tier only have a few things in them, but this is like A tier is like you should definitely be doing this. This is good for you. And so using the A/B testing thumbnails and titles feature. So this is huge. I think it's really, really important. If YouTube is telling you, hey, we're going to choose this thumbnail and title based on watch time share, and that's the stat that we care about, guess what? You should pay attention to that stat because YouTube cares about it, right? I've had people kind of argue with me and say like, you shouldn't use this because the stat they're using is horrible to determine, if people like your video or not. I'm like, no, that's not the case because clearly YouTube is using this stat in order to push everything. They want to make more money. So if I want to make more money or get more views or whatever, I'm going to listen to the stats that they care about.
So make 2 or 3 YouTube thumbnails. And or titles.
Yeah. I would phrase it like this. I would say you want several different angles of packaging for what you're putting out. Because it can be very helpful for someone to understand something in a different way, right? So like for our stuff, it's really, really great that we can put out 3 different versions of the packaging in order to see like, people are more interested in this topic versus this topic or whatever.
I can't wait till we get some real good hard data that we can really pile through. When do you think we'll see that after Do you have any expectations?
It's hard to say. The first 6 months of a channel is like really difficult to say whether it's going to pop off immediately or if YouTube is going to send it out really slowly, which is what's happening to us right now. We're testing with some shorts and things to try to just get eyeballs on us. But
I think this fly is going to definitely bring us a lot more views.
I am hunting this fly after you guys leave, 100%. But
we're going to have to list him as a fourth guest.
Yes, yeah, for sure. Featuring the fly. But yeah, so for me personally, as a career YouTuber, someone who's doing this day to day as their job, I am making 3 thumbnails for every single video, period. Yeah. And now that I have the title testing as well, which you'll get soon, it's in beta right now, that is huge as well, because it means that I don't have to have one title that describes all of my thumbnails, which is super limiting. You don't really think about that when you first get the thumbnail test. But because you can package it 3 separate ways with the title thing now, it's like thumbnail, title, totally separate for each of these 3 packages is really key. So yeah, that's really, really big. Really, really great thing to do there. The next one in A tier, the last one in A tier, is translating your videos into multiple languages.
Yes.
This is really, really big. You want to talk about this one?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely can see this as being really valuable for a channel like my Quiet Time channel, because I'm going to reach it. It seems that I'm getting a lot of global audiences that are interested, not just in English, because I'm actually reading scripture and it's translating that scripture for other people. What's going to be really cool is when they can, if I have that scripture written on the screen, whether that can be translated at some point.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll ever get to that point of being able to do. I mean, I'm sure they could. I don't know how much processing power that would take to do an entire video of like text and stuff to be able to translate it like that.
Yeah.
It'd be pretty intense, but they will have, like we talked about in our YouTube updates video, they'll have a video where I'm talking like this, and you'll guys will be able to see, not only just hear, but see me speaking Portuguese, right? Where it'll change my lip movements and my intonation and things to be in Portuguese or Mandarin or whatever else, which that I think will be really interesting.
But the German, like I speak German as my first language, and I've thought about doing like a Quiet Time German channel versus a Quiet Time English and provide them both in that context. But now I don't have to do that. I can just read it one time and then turn on the translation, and automatically, how many languages? I think 13
is a bunch
on my channel right now.
They keep on increasing them. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's A tier. S tier is like top of the top. If you're not doing this, you're an idiot sort of thing. And so here are the 2 that are in that. First is the 80% rule. So we just talked about this. 80% rule, meaning that you just get it to 80%. Don't try to push past that and put it out, right? Don't be too perfectionistic. Don't be too worried about like, this has to be absolutely perfect. You guys are seeing this in real time, right? By the time you're watching this, we've got several other episodes out. The first one we did was okay. Second one we did was a little bit better. Third one we did was a little bit better. And all the way to where we are here, we're continuing to grow, right? Every single time we're trying to get these things to look better, sound better, be better, and our conversations to be better, all that kind of stuff. Our topics, our packaging, all that stuff is improving as we're going, because we're getting it to 80% and we're just shipping it, right? We're not spending 100 hours a week trying to perfectly do this thing.
I can't wait for my first negative comment about me. Like, hey, Eric, what's the deal, man, with your haircut or whatever? Or can you be a little more excited about something?
Hold on, give me 1 second.
That'd be hilarious if you secretly are the 2 guys that are
creating like some new.
Rather than confront me directly, you are.
I wish Eric would do this on the podcast.
You're starting a new YouTube channel just so you could comment as that person.
Yeah, that's so funny. So yeah, 80% rule I think is just a general thing you need to live by in your life. Like, don't worry about getting it to 100%. Get it 80% there. And then you can perfect it as you keep on going past that
brilliant.
point.
Yep. I love that.
Last thing, which I think is probably the number one thing that you need to think about whenever it's coming to YouTube, just general kind of vision type things, is don't blame the algorithm, because the algorithm is the audience. So whenever you talk about the algorithm, I want you to change that phrasing to talk about the audience instead, right? So the algorithm doesn't like my videos. Change it to the audience doesn't like my videos. Or the algorithm isn't pushing out my videos. No, the audience isn't pushing out your videos, because how it works is YouTube sends it to 20 people. If those 20 people really love it, then YouTube will see that, they'll send it to 40 people and then 40,000 people, whatever it is, right? So don't blame the algorithm. It's not like this mystical system that you're trying to figure out a puzzle of. It is the audience, and YouTube works off of viewer satisfaction, and so that's the biggest thing for sure.
That's good. That's good.
Nobody can argue. See, we can't have a conversation. We can have more of a conversation about the C and D stuff,
Sure,
and the B
yeah.
stuff, but the A's is like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm on board with that.
Yeah, so take that list, do whatever you want to with it, but I think a lot of those things are really, really key. Stop blaming other people, stop blaming other things, focus on your own content, make great content, and make it for your audience. And I think if you follow those things, as Jesus would say, all of the law and the prophets are fulfilled in this, in these things, right? If you do those few things, you'll fulfill all the things that you need to worry about when it comes to YouTube. So, yeah. Great conversation today, guys.
Yeah, I loved
It's
it.
been good, man. I love it. It's
Awesome.
fun.